you ready?
And welcome into our Charter Road Hospitality Studios here at the Hampton Inn in Oxford by the Conference Center. It's Hotty Toddy Hotline. I'm your host, LeAnn Stubbs, and today we're joined by special guest Newswatch sports anchor Michael Snowden. Michael, how are you doing?
I'm doing pretty well, Browning. Thanks for having me on today.
All right. Well, we're going to have a great show for you this week as we're going to talk some Ole Miss baseball. The Ole Miss baseball team continues to struggle as the Rebels fell on the road to the Auburn Tigers. We'll recap the series and we'll look ahead to what's next for double-decker weekend as Ole Miss will take on the Alabama Crimson Tide at Swayze Field over the weekend. And then we'll get into a little spring football, and then we're going to preview what's ahead on double-decker for the beautiful weekend coming up in Oxford, Mississippi. If you want to get in touch with the show, 1-800-621-0042 is the toll-free number. You can also reach us on Facebook at facebook.com/Hotty Toddy Hotline and follow us on Twitter at Hotty Toddy Hotline as well. We got a great show. Tune in, and we'll be right back for Hotty Toddy Hotline. And welcome back into Hotty Toddy Hotline. We're going to start the show for this week with Ole Miss Baseball. And Michael, the Ole Miss baseball team, they went on the road to Auburn to take on the Auburn Tigers, an Auburn team that is having a pretty solid year. Before the series, Auburn was 23-15, but Ole Miss drops the series. They get one, but let's kind of talk about how the series started. And it was a game on Friday where Ole Miss they were behind most of the game. They were down 3 runs until the 9th inning, where Ole Miss finally got 1 run. But Christian Trent, the leading catalyst for the Rebels, Michael. I mean, he started out 4-0. Had tough losses, with LSU, Vanderbilt, and unfortunately picks up another one here against Auburn. And on the year, Trent now falls to 5-4. And Christian Trent, I mean, he gives up 3 runs, and he's your junior. That was a big part of last year's success,
right?
Making it to the College World Series,
right.
And he was the number 2 ace on that team. But now he's kind of been in a little bit of a struggle, and it's not good that when your number 1 ace loses the first game of the series, because he's the guy that you're supposed to count on to win that first game.
Right. Yeah. No. I mean, it's unfortunate. The consistency just hasn't been there, and that's something you haven't seen much from this team, despite I believe having the 3rd hardest schedule. Consistency's just got to be key. Ole Miss has gone out and beaten 2 number 1 ranked teams in series, and then they get a 14-0 blowout against Auburn in the 3rd game. So.
So let's kind of talk about what happened the rest of the series. There was a doubleheader on Saturday in Auburn, and it was the Rebels who actually took the second game. They had a lot of hits in that one, Michael. 13 hits, and the Rebels took that one 7-2. And catcher Austin Knight had a big afternoon for Ole Miss in that one. He had a career-high 4 RBIs, and also hit a double, had 2 hits as well. So Austin Knight really came to play in that one. And also Ole Miss got 3 hits apiece from sophomores, J.B. Woodman and Earl Robinson as well. And Colby Bortles and Will Golson also had 2 hits, combining for 3 RBIs. And it was a pretty solid outing for Ole Miss, as pitcher Scott Weathersby actually won the SEC Co-Pitcher of the Week after playing really good relief ball this last week. Actually, did you know that going into the Auburn series, Ole Miss had 23 straight scoreless innings?
I did not know that. Is that really?
Yeah, the bullpen really took care of business over the midweek after Ole Miss. They shut out. They shut out. Who was it? UT Martin. That was.
Was that a 11-0 win?
It was. That's right. So Ole Miss really played well in Game 2, but Game 3, you just kind of previewed it. Lost 14-0 to Auburn, and I mean
There's I don't know what to say for that. I mean 14-0. That's crazy.
19 hits for the Auburn Tigers.
Whew.
You're not going to win a lot of games.
No.
When the team hits
No, you're not. No, you're not. I haven't. I don't think I've seen that many hits put up on them this year. I don't think. I mean, that's a lot of runs.
And, Michael, one of the struggles all season long has been finding that third starter. Is it going to be Will Stokes, Sam Smith?
Right.
Stokes, they continue to give their freshmen chances. He's not taking advantage as he took the loss
Not really.
for the Rebels. That's his fourth loss on the season. And not a lot of highlights in this one other than Sykes Orvis hit a double in the game, and Connor Cloud went 2 for 2 for his fifth multi-hit game of the season. So now, Michael, we got to look at where the Rebels stand. They're 20-20 overall in the season. I mean, I understand they lost a lot of players to the MLB.
Right.
But I think the expectations were just a little bit higher.
A little bit. Last year was certainly a great run. College World Series, right there. Debatable pitch at the Virginia, could have been even more. But you look at what they're doing this year, and you think, well, you've got Sykes Orvis back, you've got Earl Robinson, you still got some pretty solid pitching, and Weathersby included, and you feel like this team can do more. But we knew coming into this year this wasn't going to be a cakewalk. I mean, especially with the SEC, Vanderbilt, Florida, all these teams on the schedule. But at this point, it's really not even looking back. It's about finishing strong. And I feel like if this team can just kind of come together, look at themselves and go, okay, we did this last year. We have chemistry. We have the talent. We just have to put it together and make a run. If they can do that, I feel like they can probably get a good SEC tournament run, try to beat off your rival state, try to beat Bama, then get some positive momentum going into the SEC tournament and hopefully get somewhere in the NCAA tournament, obviously.
Yeah, I mean, Ole Miss is certainly capable of going on one of those runs. I mean,
Clearly.
It happened last year in the College World Series, and also Vanderbilt, another team in the SEC. So, I mean, the SEC, how deep this league is.
Yeah.
They're certainly capable of a team making an upset here and there in the SEC tournament. But
right.
One player I want to note out before we go to commercial is senior Sykes Orvis.
Yeah, Sykes had a great year.
Well, he's got 30 RBIs, which is tied first in the league, but his batting average is not where you want it to be. I mean, I understand he's a power hitter.
Right.
He's going to take a lot of strikeouts, but he's only hitting 224. I mean, yeah, we're over halfway through the season, but I mean, hopefully Sykes can kind of get some of his mojo back.
Well, I feel like a lot of this team feeds off of him. If he gets going, that kind of sets the tone for the offense. Then another guy gets hot, then another and another, and so forth. And I feel like if he can just get to where he was last year, as far as that goes, I feel like they can make that run.
I completely agree, Michael. And we're going to take a break, but coming up, we're going to talk about what's ahead this week for the Ole Miss baseball team. As the Rebels, they'll have an opportunity to win 2 midweek games, and also they'll take on the Alabama Crimson Tide over the weekend at Swayze Field. So don't go anywhere. Stay with us here on Hotty Toddy Hotline. And welcome back into Hotty Toddy Hotline. I'm LeAnn Stubbs with Michael Snowden joining the show this week, and we got to talk more about some Ole Miss baseball as the Rebels are going to play a midday game on Tuesday against Central Arkansas, Michael, who Ole Miss was originally scheduled to play them back on February 25th, but the game was postponed due to rain. Now they get another shot with Central Arkansas, and then they'll also play another midweek game on Wednesday at 6:30 against the Memphis Tigers, who Ole Miss went into AutoZone Park back on March 31st and picked up a big 7-5 victory. And Memphis Baseball is a team that's had success against Ole Miss in the past. But, Michael, overall, midweek games have not been friendly to Ole Miss over the season.
By no means.
There's been games, against Stetson, where Ole Miss drops a midweek game. There's been a game against Southern, actually 2 games against Southern Miss that Ole Miss has dropped. Now, you're getting into the latter part of the season, 20-20. You only got a couple more SEC series, and those are Alabama Missouri, Mississippi State, and Texas A&M. So you got 4 more. But it's critical to be over 500 to win these midweek games. So pitching has obviously been a struggle. I mean, through the first halfway point of the season, you felt pretty good with where Christian Trent and Brady Bramlett were. But then with Stokes and Sam Smith struggling in the 3rd spot, that's not good either. But now you got Christian Trent dropping 2 in a row now. So, I mean, they have not listed who's going to start for these 2 games yet. But, man, I mean, the Rebels, I think it's – I don't know if there's a must-win with all the games in college baseball.
Yeah.
I think these 2 are definitely must-win games.
Well, there's certainly tone-setting games. You don't want to, as we were saying earlier, consistency. You don't want to drop one to Memphis on your home field. Also, Central Arkansas. Yeah, you don't want to drop those 2 games. I mean, those are opponents. With all due respect, those are 2 opponents that you think, okay, we should be able to get these 2 wins. Obviously, they beat Memphis earlier. Now you're on your home field, and if you get these 2 wins, you go, okay, we're 22-20. We got some momentum. Then we get Alabama, and then Alabama, they're not that hot right now. They're about a mid-level team. I believe their record's 18-20. So that'll be an interesting series. But again, the pitching has got to be on point. If the pitching is not where it is, if Weathersby, Trent, Bramlett, they're not all going, it makes it just tough for the offense to be able to do anything else.
Looking ahead to Alabama, Ole Miss will take on the Crimson Tide this weekend, starting on Friday at 6:30. Saturday's game will be at 7, and then Sunday afternoon matinee at noon for double-decker weekend. And just a little bit about the Crimson Tide. They're 20-18 on the season. They're coming off a series loss to Mizzou, where they took 1 of 3 from the Tigers. They are led by first baseman Casey Hutton, who's hitting .358 on the season. He's got 30 RBIs, 5 home runs, and their best pitcher has got 5 wins. His name is Jeffrey Bramlett, 5-2 on the year, a 4.22 ERA. So, Ole Miss, Alabama, they're 2 middle-of-the-pack teams, Michael, and both are searching for key wins. And, but, I mean, you got to think, Ole Miss coming back home, after being on the road in the last 2 SEC weekends. They were at Vanderbilt earlier in the month, and then they were at Auburn last weekend. So, I mean, they're returning home for double-decker weekend. I mean, you hope that you start seeing the fire from the Rebels this weekend.
Yeah, no, I mean, and I feel like here's another kind of chip on the shoulder for Ole Miss. Alabama. When you think Alabama, you think, man, that's a team that's had numbers against the school in the last years. But look at it this year. We beat them in football. We beat them in basketball.
Right.
You can beat them in baseball.
Yeah.
Now they're like, okay, it's right. It's our turn. We got to go out there and we got to beat Bama. And if we, that then they'll be like, okay, basketball did their job, football, let's do us, and then let's get that momentum. Let's go for 3, but let's at least get 2. Let's get these 2, show that we're not a middle of the pack team, and that we can compete with the best, and that we are one of the best.
Yeah, I mean that's when you can beat Alabama in every sport, that's
certainly something.
That is key, and certainly holds bragging rights as well. But I mean, the SEC, it's kind of cool how it's kind of, I guess, balanced because you'll have a team that's good in football in Alabama, and then a team that stinks in football at Vanderbilt. But then when you got baseball, it's flipped.
And then you look at it the same with Kentucky in basketball.
Very true.
The SEC, they're running it.
Very true, and it's before we close out this segment, there's a couple youngsters. I mean, this is a young Ole Miss baseball team.
Right.
I mean, we cannot deny that. But there's a couple guys I think that are showing a lot of flashes for the future, and that's with Kobe Bortles and J.B. Woodman. So, I mean, if you would, Michael, just kind of talk about those guys' progression that you've seen this year.
Well, being young, they're doing their thing. Bortles had a good show out last year. He was playing fairly well, and then you've got I feel like Bortles on the offensive end is where he's done pretty well this year. And Woodman, consistency, I guess, is key again. If he gets on a roll, I feel like he's doing well. Mm-hmm. But if it's down, it's not. It's hard to pull out of. It seems.
Yeah, that seems to be the case. But overall, I mean, Woodman and Colby Bortles, I mean, they're both from the Orlando, Florida area.
Right.
So I mean, that's
Florida talent.
Yeah, so that's good. That's good recruiting by Mike Bianco. All right, well, that wraps up our Ole Miss baseball discussion for the week. But when we return, we're going to talk some double-decker here on Hotty Toddy Hotline and what you need to look forward to this coming weekend. And we are back on Hotty Toddy Hotline this week. And, Michael, we talked plenty of Ole Miss baseball. We talked about their recent loss to Auburn, and then we talked about what's coming up with their midweek games against Central Arkansas,
right,
Memphis, and then the series against Alabama. But now let's flip gears to some spring football, Michael. And of course, Ole Miss, they're coming off their Grove Bowl performance where the Red took on the blue team. That was almost 2 weeks ago, and now we're going to talk a little bit more about what to expect for the rest of the spring, and we'll also kind of go through the schedule for the 2015 season. But, Michael, I mean, you were at the Grove Bowl. You kind of saw how Chad Kelly looked, Brian Buchanan, Devontae Kincaid. Personally, in my opinion, there's been chatter. Ryan Buchanan, he's been here for 2.5 years.
Right.
He knows the system.
Right.
He knows the playbook, and has a lot of support. Because he's a Jackson Prep quarterback.
Yep.
Just 2 hours, up the road there. So, really, it's going to be interesting to think that he's going to be the quarterback, because I honestly just don't think he has the arm strength that perhaps that Chad Kelly does.
Well, has it been announced he will be?
That they have not announced the starting quarterback. They're probably not going to announce the starting quarterback until the fall camp. But Freeze basically hinted that Buchanan's got just a slim lead in the race. But I mean, if I'm the head coach,
right,
I see Devontae Kincaid has a lot of skill at what he does, which is running the football very well. But honestly, I think it would be neat to see him grow into a Barry Brunetti type player for Ole Miss. Now, certainly that's not what Kincaid wishes for. I mean, of course, his best option possibly could be the transfer,
right?
To a TCU type school or in Oregon, where his play style would probably fit better in that system.
Right.
But I mean, overall, we're talking about 3 very viable candidates of earning the starting quarterback job, Michael. But overall, I mean, Chad Kelly, I mean, he continues to impress. He's staying out of trouble. He actually went to Haiti over spring break. So, he's in good light with Ole Miss fans.
He is. And I feel like it just, some in my heart, it tells me, Chad, I feel like he's going to get that starting role. I don't see Hugh Freeze being the kind of guy that's going to go, oh, hey, I'm going to go get this guy out of JUCO and bench him all year. If you're going to bring in somebody who has talent at certainly the level we've heard of Chad Kelly, you're probably going to play him. And with all due respect to Kincaid and Buchanan, I mean, they obviously, it will probably be a mixture of all 3, my opinion, when it comes game time. But I see there was a championship, obviously, with Chad Kelly, and that may it be JUCO level, it still is one, and it's high competition. So he's got the leadership role, and that's what Kincaid and Buchanan have not had. Obviously they've been behind Bo Wallace, but when you look at it, I feel like if Chad Kelly can just, as you said, stay out of trouble, stay mature, I feel like he's just going to win the spot. And Kincaid, your point of the Barry Brunetti thing, that didn't always go well for the Rebels. I mean, you would get some yards here and there with Brunetti, but I mean, maybe Kincaid can come in there and do some magic. We'll see what happens. But
with Kincaid, I mean, there's no question that the guy's an athlete.
Oh yeah, no question.
I mean, I don't know if switching his position would be the best move for him, but I think for the team, it's certainly something that should be explored, because I mean, we saw it with former Ole Miss athlete Randall Mackey actually, started out, as a running back, and then switched to quarterback, and then switched to wide receiver. I mean, he was all over the place. So can Kincaid kind of accept maybe being more of a utility player? That remains to be seen. I mean, but overall, I'm with you. I think Chad Kelly, just from what we've seen at his previous school, had championship success like Bo Wallace did when Wallace played at East Mississippi Community College. But overall, it's going to be a tight battle, and there's certainly a lot of storylines to look out for between the quarterbacks. But now, let's kind of talk about the running backs. And fellow, Michael and I were from the Memphis area.
We are.
And Jordan Wilkins is a player. I've been watching him since he was in the 8th grade, Michael.
Right. I've been seeing him at the high school level too. Those CBHS, the SBA games. Yeah. He was out there.
Oh yeah. There were games when he was racking up 500 all-purpose yards. So Jordan is all over the place.
Be nice if we could see that in college.
Yeah, and his first year, he ended up redshirting the year. He played like a couple games, but kind of had an injury, so he was fortunately granted the redshirt. But he's kind of had a couple bumps and bruises here and there. But now Jordan, he's feeling healthy as he's felt in a long time. Jalen Bolden is the senior running back.
He is, yeah.
And I'm just I'm interested to see how this is going to play out, because when Jeff Scott was a senior, you kind of saw the tide being turned over to Jalen Walton.
Mm-hmm.
Is that going to happen this year? Because I think Jordan is much better suited to be a SEC running back than Walton is.
Right. I think it's just, to be honest, I think it's going to be a combo. I think it's going to be 50-50. Unless obviously one guy's got the hot foot, I guess you would call it. Jordan, he had an interesting year last year. When he played, he had some good moments, but he didn't. And that was obviously Ole Miss run game was weak. If Wilkins can go out there and play at the level that he thinks he can play, and that we think, a lot of us Memphians think he can play, then he can change the run game and possibly even take that spot from Walton. But being the senior leader, I feel like Hugh Freeze is going to go with Jalen maybe 60% of the time, and then obviously he'll get some playing time behind Jalen, I think.
Well, there's certainly a lot of time to figure out what's going to happen with the quarterbacks and the running backs. Michael, let's kind of go into the schedule for a little bit for this coming year. And it would be nice to have your starting quarterback for that first game, so he can play the whole 12 plus the bowl game if they qualify. They start at home this year. It's kind of different than years past because they started on the road against Vanderbilt 2 years ago, and then last year they started in Atlanta with Boise State.
And then they go to Nashville again for Vandy.
So they were on the road 2 weeks in a row. But now they're going to be at home against Tennessee Martin September 5th, Fresno State September 12th. But the thing is, the reason why I think you have to have the quarterback set by week 1 and not try to play multiple guys is because week 3,
Alabama. At Alabama.
Yeah. At Bryant-Denny Stadium, you don't get to play a cupcake like Vanderbilt or Kentucky in week 3. So in my opinion, you have to have it figured out by week 1 and not try to give Kelly the first 3 possessions, then Kincaid.
Right.
And then
right. Consistency. Yeah, and next year, or as much as Nick Saban would probably deny it in the media, it's just another game, because most coaches are like, it's just another game. He has got a target on this Ole Miss team. If Ole Miss had not won that game, we're talking perfect season for Alabama heading in with the number 1 overall seed. Probably wouldn't even have played may not even have played Ohio State. So that would have been interesting. But he's gonna, Nick Saban is not going to want to lose twice to Ole Miss. He respects the team, but at home, week 3, he wants to get it on a good note. He wants to get a win against the Rebels in the SEC, get the year started right, and defend home field. Where at Bryant-Denny Stadium, they are dangerous. We've seen it in years past. You don't just walk into Bryant-Denny Stadium and win. I mean, hard enough to beat Alabama at all. That's what you're saying. Chad Kelly, somebody has got to have consistency. If you can obviously beat UT Martin and Fresno State, have some good chemistry. Hopefully LaQuan will be looking really good. If you can get the offense flowing, we know what the defense is going to give us. We should know what the defense is going to give us. But if we can get the offense rolling, maybe we'll see. I mean, it'll be fun to watch. But Alabama's going to be a tough one, week 3. And then you've got a couple more games. You got that at Florida game. Texas A&M is going to be a little weaker I think next year. So that'll be interesting to see. But it's going to be a fun year. I think my prediction is 9-3 again overall.
Well, when we kind of wrap up the show, we'll get back towards the schedule, but we're going to take a break, and we'll be joined by LeAnn Stubbs of VisitOxfordMississippi.com, and LeAnn will break down what's to come for the upcoming double-decker weekend, Michael.
All right, I'm excited for my first one.
That's right. Well, we'll take a break, and stay tuned for all the upcoming festivities for double-decker. And welcome back into Hotty Toddy Hotline. We are now on the phone with LeAnn Stubbs of VisitOxfordMississippi.com. And LeAnn, how are you doing this week?
I'm doing good. We're excited about the festival.
Yeah, I bet you're really busy with so much that's going to be going on this weekend. I mean, there's an incredible amount of fun events and concerts over the weekend. So if you would kind of talk to our listeners and kind of explain what exactly is Double Decker.
This year marks the 20th anniversary of the Double Decker Arts Festival, presented by Caterpillar this year, and it is a festival with music, arts, and food. Like I said, it's the 20th anniversary, so we're very excited about it. 20 years ago, the festival started with a bed of a pickup truck, and today we have over 155 art vendors, 24 food vendors, music both on Friday and Saturday night, and all day on Saturday. In Oxford, this weekend we will probably have over 60,000 people coming to the square throughout the weekend. So it's a big festival. We're excited about it.
Yeah, that sounds great. I mean, this will be my first double-decker that I've ever attended, but I've heard so many great things about it. So you mentioned 60,000 people will be in attendance. So I mean, overall, on the square, what's going to be the hot spot that you think everyone will be going to?
I definitely think the music. I think everybody's really excited about the music on Friday night or Saturday night. We've got our headliners, Trampled by Turtles. They'll start playing at 8:30. And we've got J.J. Gray and Mofro, who play at 7. In St. Paul and the Broken Bones that start at 5:30. So I think everybody's really pumped up about the music this year. Of course, the art vendors during the day. We've got some really unique art vendors this year, some new ones that are coming for the first year, and some that have been here for 20 years that have set up in the same spot. So some great food vendors, some good local food. So that is what I think everybody's excited about. And then, of course, Friday night we have Sacker Mountain Radio Show that will perform on the Graduates Hotel stage, which is at 7 o'clock. Before that, Water Lyres will play at 6, and we've got Reverend John Wilkins playing after Sacker Mountain Radio Show at 8 o'clock on Friday night.
Hi, Ms. Stubbs. This is Michael Snowden, co-host today. Being a freshman at Ole Miss, what is there to expect for all the freshmen coming in at this festival this weekend? What should be the main thing we're looking forward to?
The main thing you should be looking forward to is, just seeing the town of Oxford, seeing all the people that come. We've got lots of sponsors that will be sponsoring. There'll be some sponsor booths set up with apartment complexes and places to stay. Get to know where they can live, move in. They can enjoy all the food that'll be here, the bands, the music, and just kind of get to know the town that they're about to move to for their next 4 years of their life.
Well, that sounds fantastic. And what kind of food can we be expecting as far as the 24 food vendors? You said there's 24 of them, I believe, like Southern cuisine or all what all types have we got coming in?
Of different foods. We've got 24 local food vendors, so we only accept food vendors in Lafayette County, in the Lafayette County area. So you'll see anything from mini burgers to ribs to barbecue, catfish, snow cones, just a variety of things, that are locally from here, local restaurants.
Well, that all sounds very yummy to our listeners, LeAnn, and Double and Decker. I mean, it's an event that's growing every year. That's what it seems to be. So, what's new about this year compared to years past?
Well, this year, we are celebrating the 20th anniversary, so we're trying to do some special things. At about 5:30 on the Graduate Stage Hotel on Saturday, April 25th, we'll be honoring one special lady that actually started Double Decker 20 years ago. So we'll be honoring her on the stage. We have got some special limited edition hat show press prints out of Nashville, Tennessee, that we only have a limited amount printed for the 20th anniversary. You can get those available online right now, or you can call our office. And then we've got, so those are the two, things that we're doing in special in honor of the 20th anniversary. We've got light pole banners with some of our premier 20th anniversary sponsors, which are the University of Mississippi, C Spire, TVA, and Canon Motors. That was one thing that we, ran all year for the 20th anniversary. And we've got from 10 till 4 p.m. on Saturday, we have the Square Fair area, which is just dedicated for the kids. There'll be bounce houses and popcorn and cotton candy and different activities for the kids. So those are some of the special things we're doing this year.
Now, at Hotty Toddy Hotline, our biggest sponsor is Oxford Charter Road Hospitality, and there's several hotels that I'm sure are going to be busy. I mean, just what do you know, LeAnn, about available hotel rooms if people are still trying to get rooms for the big weekend?
Well, Charter Road Hospitality is one of our sponsors this year, and they are, as well as some of the other, most of the hotels in town. From what I've been told, they are pretty booked. You could probably still try to call and see, but from what I've heard, the town is sold out. We also have a home Ole Miss Baseball game this weekend. We host Alabama, so I feel like the town's going to be pretty busy starting Thursday night.
Yeah, so if you don't mind kind of talking about the baseball series over the weekend against Alabama, I mean, does the game kind of, in a way, interfere with what's going on the square, or will there be enough people that will occupy the square despite the baseball games?
I think that it's only going to enhance the visitors in Oxford. I think it's going to be a good thing because I think you can take a break. We've got the game Friday night. They can go to the game. They can come over to the square all day Saturday. If they want to, they can go back to the game. Some people can stay. So I don't think it's going to hurt the Double Decker Arts Festival at all. I think, if anything, it's going to make it better. So, of course, we're supporting the Ole Miss Rebels and the baseball team.
Now, just to kind of remind our listeners about what to expect over the weekend, I'm sure parking is going to be quite the hassle. It'll probably be almost like a game weekend against the SEC school in Ole Miss. So, are there any lots that the people can park at, or any shuttles that citizens of Oxford or visitors can look forward to?
Yes, I'm glad you asked that question. We will actually have a shuttle running from the Oxford High School back and forth. You can take that for $5. That'll bring you to the square and take you back. We have a few lots that'll be closed too. So the lot behind City Grocery, which we call the South Lot, that will be closed all day on Saturday, and that's for our art vendors, reserved spots. And then the North Lot, which is behind the Oxford University Club, that will be closed until 10 a.m. on Saturday, because that will be closed for our art vendors as well, but it will open back up at 10. We will begin towing Saturday morning at 4 a.m. And we'll have signs all over the square starting probably Wednesday. We'll get those out so everybody will know. We'll have it advertised on radio shows, on our Facebook page. So, but there are some free lots, just the free lots that you're normally used to be able to park in. You'll be able to park in those.
Well, all right, LeAnn. Is there anything else that you would like to add about the big double-decker weekend?
I don't think so. We just want everybody to come out and have a good time and celebrate and come to the 20th anniversary of the Double Decker Arts Festival presented by Caterpillar.
All right, LeAnn. Well, you can catch up with more with LeAnn Stubbs on VisitOxfordMS.com, and we want to thank you for coming on the show this week, LeAnn.
Well, I did want to I forgot one thing I forgot to point out to y'all is also we've got the Double Decker Spring Run that starts on Saturday morning. It starts at 7 a.m. So anybody that still wants to do that, you can call the chamber in Oxford and do that. And then we've got the Best Dressed Pet Contest at 10:30 on the courthouse lawn, which we've had probably since it started. So.
All right. Thanks for all the great insight and for the fun activities list with LeAnn, and I want to wish you luck, and hopefully you don't get too busy over the weekend.
Well, thank you, y'all. Thank y'all for having me.
All right, that's LeAnn Stubbs. I want to thank you for coming on the show this week. Well, we'll take a quick commercial break, but keep it here on Hotty Toddy Hotline for more Ole Miss sports. And welcome back into Hotty Toddy Hotline. We want to thank LeAnn Stubbs for coming on the show and talking to us about Double Decker, Michael.
That was very nice to see.
Yeah, so let's just kind of thank our sponsors for making the show happen. The Charter Road Hospitality, they've been great, and we are broadcasting our show this week from the Hampton Inn right by the Conference Center in Oxford, Mississippi, and they're probably just running out of rooms for the weekend. If you want to call ASAP. The number is 662-234-5565. They're located at 103 Ed Perry Boulevard, right here in Oxford, kind of by the new movie theater and by the Wendy's as well. And there's also the newest property of Charter Road Hospitality, which is Town Place Suites. And they're located right across parking lot at 105 Ed Perry Boulevard, and that's another great place. They have a swimming pool inside, so you don't want to miss that one. They're 662-238-3522, and of course we can't forget the Hampton Inn over on Jackson, along with the Holiday Inn Express. So there's a couple other two properties as well. You can call the Hampton Inn at 662-232-2442 at 110 Heritage Drive, and of course the Holiday Inn Express as well, and they are located at 112 Heritage Drive, 662-236-2500. And one other event that's going on in Oxford over the weekend is the official State of Mississippi Confederate Soldiers Memorial Service. The annual service will be held at the Confederate Cemetery at the University of Mississippi behind the Tad Pad this Saturday, April 25th at 1:30 p.m. There's it's a free service with music, guest speakers, and food, and just a great time to honor some of the old soldiers that made a lot of sacrifice. And for more information, you can give a call at 662-832-4908 for more information on the Confederate Soldiers Memorial Service at the Confederate Cemetery on the Ole Miss campus. All right, Michael, we talked some Ole Miss baseball, we talked some spring practice, and we said we would kind of finish going into a little bit more of the schedule for next year. And, right after the Alabama game, you're going to hit a stretch where you're going to be favored in most games.
Yeah, you are. It's fun. I mean, I believe you've got, we've got at Vanderbilt. We've had success with Vanderbilt. And then you get a game at Florida, and then after that's versus New Mexico State and Memphis. Two games I'm really looking forward to in that one is at Florida. Florida is a team that kind of reminds me of where we were a few years ago. Right. And because if you look at the recruiting classes, they're getting talent every year. I mean, the name Florida holds its weight. And it's going to be interesting to see what they put together with that team. And another one this is going to seem a surprise. Memphis is going to be a decent team next year. They have put together a decent team down Memphis. I mean, we beat obviously we won 24-3 last year, but it's not going to be a cakewalk. It's going to be at their place. They're going to be rowdy, and Memphis fans would love nothing more than a win against Ole Miss. I mean, and Memphis fans, we got to be honest, they're dedicated to that team. They love that team. They have been through some down years, and we saw the reaction after their UCLA game last year. They lost by a touchdown, but everybody in the city was like, I mean, this is huge. This is different. Obviously won that game against BYU on a 55-yard field goal to tie it. And that was insane. But the X factors, in my opinion, going in to the year, the at Memphis game, obviously Bama.
At Auburn.
At Auburn. That's what I was going to get to next. The back portion of the schedule. At Auburn's going to be a big one because now they're going to be an interesting team as well. Their quarterback position. What are they going to do there?
You got home against improving Arkansas team.
That's going to be a fun one.
And then probably an LSU team. When you look by prominence, LSU is going to be the biggest home game of the year.
Yeah.
They'll probably have, hopefully for them, a new and improved quarterback, as they had a lot of struggles with that last year. And then, of course, closing out the year in Starkville against Mississippi State. So it's going to be a tough road schedule.
Oh yeah, no doubt about it.
For sure. I mean, honestly, there's no excuse for them not to win every game at home because if you're going to be one of the top four in the playoffs, got to win your home game.
Oh, by
and
sure.
Then, we saw what happened this past year. Ohio State lost one game. Oregon lost one game, and Alabama lost one game. So you could really only have one loss.
Right.
So
and some teams can't have any. Yeah. I mean, imagine if Florida State had lost to Notre Dame. They should have lost that game more than likely. But if you're in the weaker conference.
But hopefully, Ole Miss will be undefeated. But if they
that'd
were
be the dream
to lose,
scenario.
It's probably going to be at Alabama, at Auburn, or at State.
Well, we can't count out. I feel better about at State than I do versus LSU. And here's why. Leonard Fournette scares me. That man,
even better this year.
That man, he looks like a 25-year-old NFL running back.
Yeah.
And he's 19. He's going to be a 19-year-old sophomore. He is going to be scary good. But and again, real quick, the only thing here's a reoccurring thing I find interesting in the SEC. If you look at all those games, our SEC games, there's really one particular quarterback on that schedule. It's Dak Prescott against at Mississippi State. They're going to have a target on us. But when you look at Alabama, no headline QB. You look at Auburn, no headline QB. And you look at LSU, no headline QB. And that's kind of the same tone with Ole Miss. So basically the only team in the SEC West with a guaranteed quarterback right now is Dak Prescott. So that'll be interesting to see if that holds any weight in the season comes along.
Very good point, Michael. Well, that wraps up this week's edition of Hotty Toddy Hotline. Remember, Ole Miss Baseball in action over the weekend this Friday through Sunday, as they'll have a 3-game home series at Swayze Field against the Alabama Crimson Tide. For our executive producer, John Raw, Michael Snowden at Newswatch, and LeAnn Stubbs, you listen to Hotty Toddy Hotline, a production of CRM Sports on the Colonel Rev Radio Network. We'll see you next week.